If you've got a business to run, then Instagram may be one of the best places for you to spend your time, energy, and money online. But only if you do it right, which is why in this episode, I'm breaking down exactly how you can use Instagram for business to get more leads, customers, and sales. Let's get to it. Hey there, my name is Erhart, marketing strategist, and welcome to The Marketing Show. All right, it is no secret that Instagram is insanely popular. With over 1 billion monthly users, almost an hour spent on the platform each and every single day by the average user, and most importantly, over 71% of businesses using Instagram to help market their business. Clearly, this is a network that is worth paying attention to. But like all things, what you get out of it is kind of associated with what you put in. So you need to make sure that you're using the right strategies, the right tactics, and basically the right methodology to get the most bang for your marketing dollars on Instagram. So with all that said, let's dive right into tip number 1, market, message, media. The very first and single most important thing that I need to share with you today is one of the most important marketing fundamental concepts of pretty much all of them, and that is ensuring that you have alignment across market, message, and media rather than doing things backwards, which is what most people do. So let's unpack the right way to do it, and then I'll talk about how most people are doing it wrong so you can avoid that trap too. You see, when it comes to designing an effective marketing strategy or a campaign or a plan, you always want to start with your ideal target market first. This is the person that loves you, loves what you do, loves everything about you, and is happy to tell all their friends and family about just how great you are. Yeah, these people are pretty special. So obviously you want more of them for your business, but to get more of them, you first need to identify exactly who they are. And how we do that is we craft up an ideal customer avatar, which is composed of 3 different elements, one of which being their demographic details like age, gender, income, occupation, things like that. Their geographic details like what city, state, province, or country they live in. And then their psychographic details like what are their attitudes, interests, beliefs, affiliations, organizations, and basically all the mental stuff that goes into how people think, act, and feel. Once you've got that part dialed in, then you can move on to the message. And this is essentially really figuring out what are their pains and their problems and their fears and their frustrations and all the things that they're trying to move away from. And then what are their goals and their dreams and their desires and their aspirations and all the things they're trying to move to. I call these things miseries and miracles. And essentially your business's goal is to help them cross that gap and move away from all the bad stuff in their life to all the good stuff that they're trying to get to. Finally, once you've got your market dialed in, you've figured out the messaging that you're going to use, well, now it's time to look at media. And this is making sure that the people that you're trying to reach are active and present on the channels that you want to be using, rather than spreading yourself thin, being on all sorts of different platforms and all sorts of different channels where none of your target market is even active or present on. This is why when it comes to Instagram, probably the most important question I can ask you is your market even on Instagram? Now, I know it's got massive saturation. Basically, everyone claims to be on Instagram, but is your market really on Instagram? Are they actually using it? Are they active and present on there? And is this going to be the best place for you to reach them? If so, that's fantastic, and we'll proceed as planned. But if not, you may want to take a look at some other networks as well. Now, obviously, the exact user details of different markets and industries and niches and things like that are going to vary, but here's some pretty broad statistics to help at least give you a general idea of who's spending their time on Instagram today. First of all, 71% of Instagram's users are under the age of 35. So if your market falls into that category, well, you get 1 check. Now, most of that market is comprised of people in the ages of 25 to 34. So if that's you, well, you get an extra check. And if your market is the 18 to 25, well, you can just stick with your single check. Still good enough for me. Also, when it comes to men versus women on the platform, there's slightly more women, but not enough to really matter. And if your market happens to be present and active on Instagram, it doesn't really matter. So men or women, you both get a check. The important thing though is to not only understand kind of the usual demographic details of Instagram, but also to take a look at other channels just to make sure that you're not leaving any gaps there in your business. So is your market over the age of 35, in which case you probably want to take a look at Facebook. If you're in more of a business type market or a B2B space, well then LinkedIn is going to be a good channel to take a look at. YouTube is pretty much good for everybody, but the big catch is obviously you need to make videos. So if that's not your thing, probably not your channel, but if it is, it's a great place to reach anyone that you're really trying to get in front of. And of course, we can't leave out TikTok, which is quickly becoming one of the most popular platforms, certainly for the age of 20 and under, although this platform will probably age up like most of them do. So you're going to have to weigh things out about what kind of platform is going to be best for you and your business. All right, now let's move on to tip number 2 on how to use Instagram for business, and this is all about social selling. You see, one of the most important fundamental kind of mindset shifts that you need to have when approaching Instagram, or basically any social media network, is the fact that they're social media networks and not selling media networks. Meaning that people typically don't log into Instagram with a credit card in hand, ready to make a purchase. Rather, they're there to engage with friends, look at content, and basically do all the things that Instagram is designed to do. This is why user intent and really understanding consumer behavior and the psychology that someone's in, sort of the headspace or the mind state that they're in when they're using the platform, is so important if you want your content to connect with your audience. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't sell on Instagram. In fact, you can sell a lot on Instagram. There's a couple different strategies that you're going to want to use that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But before we do, it is important to sort of peel back the layers and figure out, all right, well, what's our goal here? What's our intention? And what are we trying to achieve on Instagram? Because that's going to dictate the strategy that you're going to want to pursue. For example, let's say that your goal is simply to build an audience. Now, I'd argue against that strategy from a marketing perspective, being that it's not really that useful, but regardless, if that's what you want to do, well then obviously you're going to want to create mass appeal content that's going to reach pretty much everybody and be shareable and likable, and all of those vanity metrics that are going to help you build up that audience. If your goal is to grow your email list, well then obviously you're going to want to create content that's going to be valuable and engaging and intriguing, and also that leads them to that next step in the funnel, basically prompting them or encouraging them to take the next step to learn a little bit more and possibly download your free guide or PDF or cheat sheet or blueprint or whatever you're using as a lead magnet to grow your email list. Or if your goal is to just straight up make sales, well, that's fine too. But again, you've got to be aware of user intent, and you can't just shove your product or service down everybody's throat and push and promote and basically be overly salesy, because it's just not going to work on this platform when you approach it like that. So you need to be a little more sly and a little more creative and a little more strategic, and make sure that you're offering a good balance of both value providing content and promotional content at the same time that's going to allow people to essentially further the relationship and take the next step in order to help them solve the problems that your business is positioned to help them solve. So with all that said, it's important to understand that when you're marketing your business on Instagram, there's two main ways to do it: organic and paid. So let's take a look at that now. The first step is understanding organic content. And really what this means is content that you're not paying to promote. So it's just organic to the platform. Basically, anytime you make a post or create a story and you're not paying, you're not creating an ad behind it, that's organic content. Now, the important thing to understand with Instagram, especially today, is that it is incredibly saturated. It is super competitive, and organic content is just simply not working like it used to. In fact, it's kind of not working at all in most cases. That doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means that if you want to succeed with organic content on Instagram, you really are going to need to be one of the best. You're going to need to make sure that you're creating really good content and you're creating a lot of it. You also need to pay attention to the algorithm and really try to understand what kind of content it's favoring. You see, it used to favor images, then they introduced videos, and then videos got really popular. Now we've kind of circled back and we're back on images doing really well. So again, just pay attention to what kind of content's working well and create more of that. Also, when it comes to organic content, you've got two different placements. You've got the feed, which is the main Instagram feed, and then you've got stories. Now, if you had to pick one to sort of prompt you to, I'd recommend maybe a post a day with the feed, and then you could get away with 2, 3, even 4 posts a day using stories. Another way to look at this is to use your news feed for highly curated and really polished content. So essentially the feed is real good. On the other hand, anytime that you've got an idea or you want to show something behind the scenes or something a little more casual, well, then you can use stories. So we'll say feed real good and stories real life. And this will allow people to get a bit of an insight and a glimpse into your world. The important thing with your content is to make sure that it's relevant and that it's contextual to the platform and that it's something that your customers or your audience actually wants to see, which again sounds super obvious, but you'd be amazed at how many different sort of Instagram accounts are spread way too thin across all sorts of different content, and they're sharing some stuff people might like and some stuff people won't. So again, really dial in on that ideal customer avatar that you're trying to serve and make sure your organic content is ideally suited for them. Also, my last tip on organic content before we move into the paid area is to make sure that you've really crafted up a solid bio. This is going to be the main area where someone's going to get a feeling and an understanding of you and your business and what you're all about. So definitely don't skimp here. Spend a bit of time and make sure that not only is it relevant to your business, but that it's intriguing and sort of irresistible to your market, so that when they visit your bio, they're intrigued, they follow you, and they might even visit your site. All right, let's move on to paid Instagram ads, which when it comes to marketing your business on Instagram is easily my preferred choice, simply because the organic platform is completely saturated and the paid ads, well, there's still lots of room if you know what you're doing. So let's unpack that now. The first thing to understand is that Facebook owns Instagram, so running any kind of Instagram ad is going to be done through the Facebook Ads Manager. And this is a very, very good thing because the Facebook Ads Manager is one of the most robust and highly detailed and incredibly targeted advertising platform available today. It's also relatively user-friendly, so even if you've never run an ad before, you can get it up and running in a few hours and by watching a few tutorials, and over time you'll sort of get more experience and get a little bit better. Now, just like with organic content, when it comes to paid, you have those two placements available as well, both in the feed and also in the stories. It's really hard to say which one is going to work best for you and your business and your market, but if I had to push you in one direction, I'd say maybe start with stories. But again, you want to make sure that the ad that you're creating, just like the organic post that you'd be creating, looks good, is relevant, and is contextual to the platform, so it looks like it actually belongs there. Also, a really important note when it comes to running any kind of paid traffic, whether we're talking about Instagram ads or Facebook ads or Google ads or YouTube ads or anything, is to be really strategic about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you're looking to get out of it. Because advertising is kind of like an accelerator. So if you've already got a fire going with your business, you throw some gas on it, it's going to make it even bigger. In the same sense, if you've got something that's kind of lackluster or you have an offer that's not really that good and you throw money at it, it's just going to make it fail faster. So make sure that you know exactly what you're looking for and what you're trying to achieve so your advertising dollars are well spent. All right, the next great way to use Instagram for your business is to leverage the power of micro-influencers. Now, if you've never heard of influencers before, let me give you a real quick breakdown. Essentially, an influencer or a social media influencer is basically somebody with influence. Sounds kind of obvious, but that's really it. They're basically kind of a new form of mini celebrity, maybe? And they've built up some kind of online audience that is going to be relevant to a certain type of market or industry or niche. Anyway, that's basically an influencer. And then influencer marketing is leveraging these people to promote your business or promote your brand or to give you a shout out or to highlight your product or service or something like that. Influencer marketing has become pretty popular, but it's still nowhere near where it could be, which means there's still a ton of untapped possibilities for you and your business, especially if you've got a very specific niche or you're serving a smaller geographic area, because then you don't need to work with massive influencers that are going to cost tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars. Rather, you can start working with micro-influencers. Basically, a micro-influencer is just a smaller influencer, so they'll have a smaller audience, but it's probably a little more targeted and a little more relevant and a little more niched into the exact type of person that you might be able to benefit from as a customer or a client to your business. Also, the smaller the influencer, well, the greater the odds that they've never been approached before with some kind of brand deal or partnership or payment of any kind, which means they may be a lot more open to a product exchange or a small fee, and you're able to sort of test the waters of influencer marketing for not that much money and see what kind of results you can get. Micro-influencer marketing is quickly becoming one of my favorite strategies to recommend to clients and students in order to help them leverage their business for really not that much money, because again, they're going to be working with people with smaller audiences who've never done this type of thing before. So as long as you're open to having that conversation and working out some kind of deal that's win-win for both parties, it's definitely worth testing. All right, the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I have linked up right here on Instagram marketing for small business, which is going to give you some of my top Instagram marketing tips. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll see you in the next episode. The 3 words that can help you build an effective brand plan are consistency, clarity, and congruence. Consistency means that you're applying a regular